Good morning, dear students. Welcome in social science class. Dear students, as we all know that you have already started chapter 17, that is fundamental rights, duties and directive principles. So today we are going to start or continue with the directive principles of the state policy. It is also one of the principles of our constitution and it is quite important as well. So without wasting time, we can start. So first of all, just an introduction of the directive principles. It is the Constitution of India, is the supreme law of India, that we all know that it was came into the existence on 26 January 1950, and it is the longest written constitution of any sovereign country in the world. Sovereign means having decision making powers and having 444 articles in this constitution, along with 12 schedules and 22 parts, along with 101 amendments. Amendments means changes, and it is included in part 4th of our out of 22 parts. The 4th part we have directive principles and articles which we are using under these directive principles, that from 36 to 51, and deals with the various directive principles of the state policy as well. Next we have the history, as just a briefing of the directive principles. It was borrowed from the Irish constitution, or we can say that from the Ireland, and the makers of the Constitution of India were influenced by the Irish nationalist movements. What happened? We all know that the Indian constitution, we haven't written ourselves, we haven't prepared ourselves, that whole things, whole changes has been borrowed from the different constitutions of the world. The principles have been inspired by the directive principles given in the Constitution of Ireland and also by the principles of Gandhism. These are the different features of directive principles that which relate to the social justice as well, economic welfare, foreign policy and legal, as well as the administrative matters. Administrative means the functional procedures. Next we have what exactly the directive principles are. These are the specific guidelines to the central and state governments provided by the Constitution of India to be kept in mind while framing laws as well as the policies for the different areas of the specific country. These provisions contained in Part 4, as we have just discussed, the Constitution of India, and are not enforced or enforceable. Just underline this one statement, very important. These are not forceable by any court, but the principles laid down therein are considered fundamental in the governance of the country, making it the duty of the state and to apply these principles in making laws to establish a just society in the country. These are the rules and regulations which have to be implemented in a strict manner, but these are not in a forced manner. Next we have this page of the book which the things have mentioned in your book. So first of all, we can start from the introduction part or the definition part. What exactly the directive principles are there which mentioned in your book. The directive principles of the state policy are guidelines, instructions given by the Constitution. The governments at all levels are expected to frame their policies, whether it is state government, whether it is a central government, with an aim to achieve our national goals. Whatever goals are there have to be achieved. Welfare state in India as well. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar considered these guidelines as powerful instrument for the transformed of India from a political democracy into an economic and social democracy. Political means only to run the government, but when we are talking about economic, that is the financial sources of a particular country. Social democracy means the social status of a particular country, the dignity of an individual of a country. Next, we have the classification of directive principles. We have different types of areas where the directive principles are worked. The specific are economic principles, social principles, and Gandhian principles. Along with that, one more we have here, principles related to international peace and security. So here, first of all, we can start with the economic principles, which is associated with the guidelines of financial matters, where the first one we have to secure equal pay and for equal work for both men and women. Sometimes what happen, the industries, the companies, they are not providing, they are not giving equal wages to men and women. So in that case, the rules are there, the regulations are there, which is quite important for both men and women to provide equal payment for their equal work. Second, we have to provide adequate means of livelihood for all. Adequate means proper means of livelihood, means equal opportunities to all. Next, we have social principles that is related to the society, the dignity of an individual, to make efforts to raise the standard of living in a public scenario or a public areas, along with the public health. The health and sanitation also equally important in the society. Next, we have to guard children against exploitation and moral degradation, provide values, manners among the children, as well as this guard children against exploitation. Sometimes what happen, child labor is there, human trafficking is there, so that thing should be avoided from the society, and being a punishable offense should be properly checked by the authorities. Next, we have Gandhian principles. It is also very important because it is related with the village communities, like village panchayats. We have to promote cottage industries so that the small people or the poor people, they can also uplift themselves and continue with their livelihood. Next, we have principles related to the international peace and security. That also quite important. To maintain just and honorable relations with the nations, with the different countries, trade relations should be in a proper manner, friendly relations should be there. To promote international peace and security, the war and battle should be avoided, and to maintain peace and order along with the other countries with the trade matters as well. Next, we have the importance or the significance of directive principles of the state policy, why they are very important. The first, we have right to education has become a fundamental right. Right to education should be a fundamental right, and it should be provided to each and everyone. Environment Protection Act that was introduced in 1986, Wildlife Protection Act that was introduced in 1972, that also passed for the betterment of the society along with the human beings as well as the wildlife. National Commission for the Welfare of Women has been established so that the women category or women empowerment should be in a proper manner. And the last but not the least, right to work has been implemented for the rural unemployed under Manrega, which was introduced in 2005. Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Under this, there was 100 days work scheme for those people who are unemployed in village areas. So every year they will get around 100 days work in a year. If they are not getting work, the government is providing them benefits as well as allowances for their livelihood. So this was all about for today's topic. If any query, then you can ask. Thank you.